All right. Thank you everyone for being here today. My name's Allison. I'm one of the admissions reps at our school.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm also an admissions rep.
I'm Christopher. I'm the Director of Education and current campus manager at the Black location.
Awesome. So we're just going to go through an overview of admissions at our college for cosmetology programs, and then we'll open it up to questions as well. So Northwest College School of Beauty, we've been around for about 50 years now. We've got 5 campuses throughout the Portland area, and we teach full cosmetology and then various combo programs as well. So a few different things about our school. We are members of the American Association of Cosmetology Schools. We are licensed by the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. All of our instructors are licensed as well. We are inspected by the Oregon Health Licensing Office, which is the same licensing office that everyone in the state will go to take their tests in Salem. And then we are accredited by the National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences. When you're searching for a school, it's important to maybe find one that's accredited, since they basically make sure we're providing a well-rounded and thorough education to you all. And then we're also partnered with the Right Information Student Services. They assist graduates on options to avoid like defaulting on loans, so paying back your federal student aid and things like that. And then, kind of like I said before, we have 5 different campuses. They're all clock hour. We have one at Clackamas in Happy Valley, Beaverton, Tualatin, and then down in Southern Oregon at Medford and Springfield. Probably closest to commuting from Hillsborough will be the Beaverton campus. We have a job search assistance where we'll post local job postings on campus and on our website. That way, while you're in school, you can explore options out in the field, build your portfolio, and get ready to land the job. We have the Cosmetology Business Concepts course that we designed specifically for our school. Dives a little bit deeper into the different like ways to work in the industry. So whether it's leasing a chair at a salon, owning your own business, being on payroll, and then also with our photo studio on campus, you can build your portfolio, get those professional shots, and then building your resume, hopefully helping you land the job out there. What else? So we offer the advanced programs as well. So once you go through your basic aesthetics, we also offer advanced aesthetics. That's where you get into things like med spa and lasers. And then our basic aesthetics program, we expanded the curriculum as well. So you dive into chemical peels, extractions, some other more specialty facial services. And then the field is always expanding, so we are always expanding. We'll build our curriculum to keep up to date with new trends and things like that. And then we train and carry professional product lines such as Joico, Statement, different hair products. Bio Elements is a skincare line, and then Morgan Taylor and Gelish for the nails products. And then this is a breakdown of all the different programs. So you can go into an individual program. We offer the hair, nails, aesthetics, barbering, and then advanced aesthetics. Can see kind of the breakdown with the clock hours. So the state requires a certain number of hours and operations while you're in school. Those are various services you'll complete. So whether it's haircuts and manicures, and so it goes down. Hair is over 1,000. Nail technology is 281 hours. So it's a really quick program. If you are hoping to use federal student aid to help fund your schooling, you'll want to be in a program that's 600 hours or more. So if you're really interested in nails, I recommend exploring a combination course. So we offer 3 different combo courses. You can do the full cosmetology, hair, nails, and aesthetics, You can do hair and aesthetics or the nails and aesthetics. And that way you're able to use your federal student aid benefit. And in that advanced program, you'll want to be licensed in your basic aesthetics before you can move on to that. And then all of our campuses offer 2 schedules. So you can pick the day schedule, which is Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., about 30 hours a week, so pretty full time. You do graduate just a little bit sooner than evening. And then the evening schedule is Monday through Friday, 5 to 10 p.m., 25 hours a week. It's great if you have a daytime job or whatnot. The advanced aesthetics schedule is going to kind of vary. They do, I think, 3 days a week that are 10-hour days. And then tuition. So a bunch of different ways you can pay for your tuition. The main one's going to be that federal student aid. So the seniors in the room, the 25-26 year FAFSA will hopefully be available in December. You can apply for that on their website. I have some information on the booklets. And when you submit on our website, we can email the information for the people on our Zoom. Federal student aid will grant you loans or Pell Grant or both, depending on what you qualify for. And then you'll work with us in admissions to get connected with our federal or our financial aid team, and they will build you an estimate. That way, before you enroll, you can see a breakdown of what your monthlies will look like and see what's covered from the government, and if you have any out-of-pocket costs, and then we'll break it into a payment plan. So before you even start school, we'll have your plan in place. You'll know what to expect. We also have a resource list for different grants and scholarships. So if your out-of-pocket cost is more than expected, we can continue to find some other opportunities out there to bring down costs. And then in addition to FAFSA, the parents can fill out the Direct Plus loans. So if you're still a dependent, and then we do payment plans, those different grants and scholarships. There are some out there that are for beauty school students specifically. And then there are even more that might be like life circumstance and whatnot that we can, get you a list of. And then there are private loans as well through different credit unions. And then the annual mean wages in Oregon. So when you graduate, you know how much you possibly be making. These numbers are the average. So it'll kind of depend on maybe exactly where you live in the state, what job you go into. There's lots of opportunity to make more than the average as well. So this kind of just goes through from 2022. Another thing to note, since, when you're picking a program, the more licenses you have, the more money you tend to make. So even if you're, really interested in aesthetics, maybe doing that hair, aesthetics, nails combo might be worth it. Just because you could go down the line and do like bridal hair and makeup to have that combo. With 2 licenses, you can charge more money, that kind of stuff. And then a few things to consider while you're making the choice to pursue cosmetology. It's a pretty active and social field and industry. So you might be on your feet a lot, lots of customer service, chatting with your clients and vendors, a lot of, marketing yourself, which you'll learn those skills in school as well, since our campus is set up to basically simulate a workplace. So you'll already have that practice going while you're in school. And then are you willing to continue your education? As in you're going to be kind of a forever student because the industry is always evolving and changing. Just how we update our curriculum. Once you graduate, you want to stay up with trends, probably going to want to attend some conferences and workshops and make sure you can offer your clients the newest offerings. I'll pass it off to Jenna.
So part of what she was talking about, how it might make you more money in having multiple programs, Another important thing is reciprocity. This is something I've had to call a bunch of states on and ask questions. So different states have different requirements. Oregon is one of the very few that lets you separate and say, I only want to do nails, I only want to do aesthetics. Most states require you to have a cosmetology license, which is all three of those pieces. So if you might remotely move to, like you were talking about, moving to another state, possibly, if any of you are considering that, you should consider getting a full cosmetology. The other thing by doing that is that we're able to streamline it so that way it is a bundle, so that way it costs a little less and you get through faster than if you were to take it and decide, oh, maybe I should pick up nails or I should pick up hair and come back. So that's very important when you're considering which ones to go ahead and look at your future of, are you always going to be in Oregon? And then Allison covered some of this with what going to school looks like. She said that it simulates a working environment. So like we had said with those back classes earlier, you're going to spend about 5 weeks in the classroom, and that's where you're going to learn the basics. And then you're going to have a friend or family member model for you and show us that you know what you're doing, and then you'll be on the floor serving clients. So you also will be doing some state testing. Don't worry, there's no big anxiety there. We have it set up so that you can take them at your pace and you pass at 75%. You can retake them, so it's not anything to be anxious about, but you will have state testing while you go through. And then when you're on the floor, she mentioned that there's a number of practical operations, so many haircuts, so many eyebrow waxes. So you'll have the opportunity to get those done. And then she also mentioned where you have that career development. So that way you'll have the skills that you need when you leave with the education and the hands-on skills to be able to decide what you want to do with your career. We're also going to make sure that you have the training in any of the legal aspects you need to do that, along with sanitation and dispensary. And we also have, much like some of your schools, a student council with a bit of kind of a campus life feel. So like we had our week where we were doing Spirit Week and we all dressed up. We do potlucks, we do different things to try to make it fun. There was also a competition towards the end of summer where we had done different like nautical themes. So one of you mentioned special effects. There was different makeup techniques, different nail techniques, barbering techniques. So we try to have competitions that encompass everybody. So back to something else I mentioned earlier with helping you with job placement. We can't actually place people in jobs. It's a little too difficult to try to place someone because you're dealing with some people who want to rent a chair, some people that want to, you know, work as an employee. But we do have job boards and different vendors who come in. So once you hit 80% of your program, we will help you with those resources. Now, every couple of years, they check on us to tell us our institutional outcomes. Now, of the people that enroll, we have a graduation rate of 75%. Some people just find out that school is not for them because this is a commitment, just like any other school. The really great number, though, is that next one, our licensure rate. 98% of the people who finish the program are able to go on and get their license. So almost everyone who completes the program has no problem going to Salem. You go down there, you take one computer test, and you can get your license that way. And so the how to enroll, I know you said you included a lot of this information in their packet. The first step is to do a tour. Now you guys can tour together. It's more fun that way sometimes because if you can pick your own classmates, that's always great. You're welcome to bring your parents. I've had aunts, cousins, whoever's your support system, they're welcome to come with you to tour. It's a great opportunity to take a look at what's going on the campus. You can meet the instructors. You know, the students are available. They can answer a couple of questions. There's also a voucher for a service at the end of the tour. So that way you can come back and maybe get a facial, get a haircut, and be able to ask questions from a student and get their perspective while you're there. Then the next step for enrolling is submitting for your FAFSA. That way we can see what grants and loans you qualify for and be able to get that estimate and get things set up. And then you'll meet with someone from admissions. You'll want to make sure to have your diploma with you. You do have to be over 18, so you've got to have your ID to show us that, and then your social security card. So that's all that you need to enroll. We don't have a lengthy enrollment process. Everybody can join school. You don't have to have a certain GPA. You just need to go through the steps so that way we know that you're ready. And as long as you've got your estimate and you're okay with everything, we are happy to enroll you in school. Oh, and there's $100 enrollment fee. I forgot to mention that. So that holds your spot. And it's always a good idea to do that as soon as possible to make sure that one, we've got your spot held, and two, you can start applying for some of those grants and scholarships as soon as you have the acceptance letter. You don't have to wait until you've started classes.
Thank you for being here today and letting us talk to you about school. The QR code up on the screen will lead to the website. We also have got the website on your packets. That's where you can submit your information to do a tour, get a feel for campus, and get your free service voucher.
So we're open for questions now.
So you guys talked about your enrollment. Do you have a rolling enrollment, or do you do like certain seasons, or at the beginning? When is they graduate? When do they?
Yeah.
enroll?
So we have a different start date each month, depending on what schedule you want and which program you've chosen. It'll kind of determine exactly which month. But if you're wanting to do full cosmetology, you could start any month since we'll always have a class available and running. Yeah.
So, so in like cosmetology school, mainly for hair, very interested in extensions. And so is that like a pretty focus equal to like cutting and like all that stuff? Like are you able to learn about that? Like also?
So that's one of those certificates you would get after you get your base license. There are a few things, hair extensions, eyelash extensions, different things like that, where the state of Oregon requires you to have your base license first, and then you go on to take the certificates on the extra pieces. Any other questions?
I'm just gonna jump in with the extensions.
Okay.
So you can actually take like extension and lash classes as a student and get certified in them. You just can't practice in them until you have your licensure. Because there are so many different companies that do extensions and lash extensions. Each one does a certification for their brand. And so that's why we don't do that in-house, because it's kind of an advanced knowledge class that you want to take once you decide if that's what you want to specialize on. And so you want to do some research into which brand or which kind of extensions, both hair and eyelashes, that you feel comfortable working with, because there are some. But you can do the certification while you're a student, depending on the company. Some of them will let you, some of them won't. And then you can have that certification, so when you graduate and get licensed, then you go straight on to certification extension.
Yeah. We had a small group of students who all carpooled and went and did a extension certification together while they were students. So they were able to do it together. I think it was a weekend course. So, yeah.
There are a couple questions online. So the first one, Charlotte asked, can you do makeup in cosmetology? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the staple pieces of the esthetician program. So aesthetics encompasses like skincare, but it also does hair removal and makeup. So you're going to learn different kinds of makeup techniques. Obviously, like special effects makeup is going to be an advanced training thing. We work a little bit with like makeup application, but not so much prostheses. But that would be something that would be kind of like an extension class that you would do either in school if they'll let you or outside of school. But we do like special event makeup, we do regular makeup, wedding makeup. So we do cover all of those pieces as part of your aesthetics program.
I would say if like makeup artistry is something that you really want to focus on, having that aesthetics license will just give you a better reputation. You'll be able to charge more money and whatnot.
And then Sasha asked with barbering, can you be able to learn how to do specifically highlights, or do I have to take both barbering and hair design for that?
Good question. So barbering doesn't include any of the chemicals. So that would be no highlights, bleaching, perming, relaxers. So to be able to do that, you'd want to go through hair design. That'll include the chemical portion. And then doing a hair design aesthetics combo would allow you to do the facial like topics that barbers do. We've had in the past where someone might go through barbering and get that barber facial instruction and then re-enroll to do chemicals. But doing the hair aesthetics combo will fulfill that and then also give you waxing and makeup application and things like that. Yeah.
Now, I am at the campus that does barbering, and what we recently learned is if you do barbering and then try to re-enroll in hair design, because you get to carry over the hours for what you've already learned, it drops you low enough that you do not qualify for using FAFSA. So if dyeing hair, if being able to do perms is something that you really want, then you want to do the hair design and aesthetics, because you can still be a barber and you can use your financial aid. If you do barbering and then change your mind, you have to pay for that different ways.
And then Sasha asked, will the combos cost more? Can you give that sheet? What the cost of the combo are?
So, and that's something too, Sasha, if you want to submit your email on our website, we'll be able to email you this document that we have too. The combos will cost more than the individual course, but it won't be like stacked. So for example, if you're doing the hair aesthetics combo, those individual programs, hair would be 17,000, aesthetics is going to be 10,000. Your condensed tuition will be 21,000. So you'll save some money in the grand scheme of things since you won't have to repeat some of the topics in doing that combo. And it won't be like the individual courses stacked, but it will and overall cost more than an individual course. That makes sense.
Yeah, so maybe focus like with like being here was I was thinking about doing just like cosmetology itself and then putting esthetician off to the side. But if I were to do hair design and esthetician school, like I know how that would go. Like I just learn all of it and it's like a lot of months and stuff. But would it be worth it or make sense to do like cosmetology school first and then later on take an esthetician school or like schooling? Or would that not make much sense? Just so it's not like such big of a load.
So cosmetology means hair, nails, and aesthetics. It's all three together. If you are looking at doing both, you want to do them together because one, you can use your FAFSA. Two, like Allison was saying, you get a discount doing it together versus doing them separately because we can combine some of the things like the education courses. So if you have any interest in doing them, you want to do them together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, oh, it's okay. You know, it gets confusing. And then people will use, because I'm still learning, they'll use terms like full cos. And it took me a second to realize they meant all three programs. So sometimes it gets a little confusing. But yes, and then if you have, again, if you have any interest in potentially moving, you might want to consider adding nails to it even if you choose not to do nails, like you can get your licenses and then not choose to use that part. But if you're going to move to another area, or let's say you get called to do a destination wedding, you need to make sure that your license will transfer to another state.
On the education side of that question, when you have the combined program, you end up with more hours. And the way that our campuses work is we roll you through your back classes, whichever ones you need, all at the very beginning. So you would hypothetically take your hair 101, which is styling and cutting, and then do the 102, which is chemical services, and then go into your aesthetics class. So then once you're done with those three, you would have all of the rest of that time to do all of the markups and testing and all of the time that you need to do for both programs. If you come and do them separately, you get just that one chunk of time to just work on that one thing. So with the, like our full course is 1,835 hours. So once you're done with your back class, you still have like 1,500 hours that you get to work on your hair, your nails, and your SD stuff. So you have a lot more time to work on all of it. And so you don't have to stress out as much. I think it's a little less stressful because you can be working on hair and SD and get both those markups and both those trainings.
And to piggyback off that, doesn't that prepare them better for real life? Because you're gonna have clients coming in for various services.
Yeah.
You have multiple, because you're not gonna have everybody come in at once and have an entire week of just haircuts. You're gonna have a mixture.
So in our salon, all of our stylists are full licensed. So they might do a haircut and do a pedicure and then do a manicure and then do an eyebrow wax and their hair color. And so it is kind of like, it is better to prepare you if you're going to be doing multiple services in the salon so that you're used to kind of booking those out.
So for the, you mentioned that there's like, you take different classes. How does that work? Like if you go for like the day schedule, for example, would you have like one class from like 9 to 10 and then one class from another time? Like how would that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So your class schedules, your first 5 weeks in school is going to be solely for whatever that class is. So if you're a full courser and your first class is there, you would go for 5 weeks all day long in that specific class. And then once you finish that, you're going to take a little practical. It's it's the exact same practical as you will for your senior practical, just not as stressful because you're learning. And then you would go into your next 5-week class. So that would be like your chemical hair services. And then once you're done with that, you'll do your little practical in your test and then go into whatever the next class is. Ours would be nails, and then you would do that, which is a 4-week class with a 1-week buffer in there. And then once you're done with that, you would go into SD for 5 more weeks. And then once you're done with all of your back class, your freshman classes, then you would go on the floor. And that's where we integrate like our cosmetology business concepts, which is the binder down at the far right for you guys. And then like law theory and different practice theories. We also do like demos and hands-on things and pop-up classes. So you're kind of getting classes once you hit the floor all the time. But we don't have like period 1, period 2 kind of a thing. It's your first classes and then you're on the floor and then you're just doing services and doing advanced educations and CPCs and law classes. A little more casual and at your own pace that way.
You'll be with the same instructor in that like freshman class if you're doing the hair 101, and they'll have like a good variety to your day, whether it's doing the demos, practicing on mannequins or fellow classmates. There'll be some textbook and workbook practice and studying, and then doing the computer testing and the hands-on testing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So like when you're planning to travel, like you're not staying in a specific state, but you're like not the hours that you like for there, do they translate to another country?
So each state and each country has their own reciprocity rules and laws. And so you would have to check with that specific country. We do accept out of country students, but there's a process and they just changed it on July 1st. So it kind of depends on the state that you're transferring to or the country that you're transferring to. So you would want to look into that if you know you're moving. You would want to look into that maybe before you start to see, do I need to just take aesthetics, or will I have to do aesthetics and hair design, or will I have to do all three? Because each country and each state has different requirements for licensure. They also have different reciprocity.
I was wondering, what are tours available? Like, do you have to do it as part of the enrollment, or could you like just do it next fall, like if you're a junior? And then also like, when is a good time to start the enrollment process? Like, how long does it take for a releasing process if you're planning on doing it like after graduation?
Yeah, so you can tour at any point. Can do a tour next week. Typically, like we do tours Tuesday through Friday. We can do an evening tour, so that you can make it after school. And then beginning that enrollment process come your senior year, you'll want to apply for that FAFSA. That will be for the school year in whenever you want to start. So if it's July, August, or September, you'd want, so what would it be, 26, 27 for you because you're a junior?
Yeah.
Yeah. And once you're connected with an admissions rep, we'll keep you updated. And once the FAFSA is done, it can take about a week to process. Really the sooner you have that one done, the sooner we can get you an estimate and schedule your enrollment date. Usually financial aid might be like the longest step in the process. But the soonest we can get your estimate, then you get to know your monthlies. If you need to push out your start date for financial reasons, we can do so or bump it up. But overall, I would say connecting within a few months of you wanting to start or sooner, or yeah.
I
Yeah.
also think it's wise, like as a junior, to do an enrollment now, or I mean a tour now, just kind of check in. That way you can go do a walkthrough and then do another tour as you get closer to graduating, just to remind you and bring friends, bring family. I think it's always good to have people with you, just so that they can give you their ideas as well. And that way you get a fresh perspective because things are always changing. We're updating, we're getting new machines, we're getting new equipment. The student counts are always changing. So the day you tour, maybe it's a lower student count day, and then a year later, it'll be a high student count, because it's just like high school, we kind of have this ebb and flow. Like you guys are out during the summer, so we get really, really busy. Right? That's when everyone starts enrolling, and in the winter, we slow down a little bit and then get busy again. So just having a couple of tours, I think, is a really good idea. And you can start. I mean, I think we've had freshman, sophomore. You can tour anytime you want.
So to enroll, let's say, like, you wanted to do it, because I'm a senior, next, next year, so. I'm thinking it's the next year. Next year, I don't turn 18 until like August, so like, would I have to wait until August to try to see if I could get in, or would I?
So we would do all of the steps with you. We can still tour you. We can still get you the estimate. We can get everything ready, but you can't sign the contract to enroll because it's a legal contract. So you have to be 18 to be able to sign it. But we can absolutely get everything ready so that like the week you turn 18, I don't expect you to want to show up on your birthday. But like
I've had people come the day after they turn 18.
so yeah, we can get everything in place so that when you are 18, it's just signing the papers.
Okay. What would you say are like the most important life skills to have for this job? Like, would it be like creativity? Would it be communication skills? Like, what would you say is like the biggest?
Those two right there. Like Allison said earlier, you are going to be interacting with a lot of people. You're going to have your clients. You want to make sure that you can rebook those clients. I mean, that would be everyone's goal eventually, right? Full books and not having to, in this current, I don't know the right words, marketing online, like that's a new trend that everyone needs to be on. You need to be building that portfolio while you're in school. We have setups at the different campuses to get your before and after pictures. Make sure that your friends and family know that you're there so that you can get some of their pictures. Learning how to market yourself on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever that is. But again, that's still interacting and communicating with people. So you've got to get really good at that. And then, yes, creativity is always great because anybody can get what are they called? That just shows you how far I am. Is it in French? The white tips, yes. I mean, anyone can do that, but do you have the creativity to do more advanced artwork? And that's finding what you're passionate about. Some of you already know. Some of you are like, I want to dye hair. I want to do this, And while it's a good idea to have uh, the full in hair aesthetics and nails, because again, if you're going to travel, you want to have that full cosmetology behind you. Find out what you're passionate about.
I would say like as an overarching, I don't know, important life skill would just be motivation. Because your time in school is time to practice your nail art and practice your, customer service and all of that. But if you have that drive to learn more and work hard and schedule out time to take your tests and practice and ask for feedback, you'll be successful. So just, believing in yourself is kind of like honestly one of the biggest parts. And just having that motivation to keep learning and practicing and, maybe collaborating with classmates and just being there for other people around you. And yeah, motivation.
I think as one practices, I think finding out what you want to be and who you want to be as a stylist or an esthetician or a technician is maybe one of the most important pieces because creativity seems to be the first thing that we think of. But if you're wanting to do natural skincare, you're not going to be doing all these crazy things to people's faces outside of teaching them how to care for themselves. And so your creativity is going to be different than mine was when I was in school. I wanted to be an avant-garde runway stylist. Like that was my goal in life. And so we would have different ideas of creativity. And so I think having that foundation and that passion for what you want and then living in that lane is going to make you the most successful because you shouldn't be deterred by what other people's expectations are of what you should be doing in your industry, right? And so some people are going to want to do prostheses and do special effects makeup where you're going to want to do super clean, super natural makeup or no makeup at all, right? And so knowing where you want to be is going to help drive that passion, which is going to lead you to continually learning what's going on and just refueling your fire often is important, right? Because anytime you do something, even when you love it, once you start doing it for work, that fire can kind of die down a little bit. And so going to those classes that they offer, going to hair shows, watching videos, and going to like webinars, those things are going to keep your fire going through your industry through the rest of your life. And so I think all of those things, including just management and planning, is super important because you're going to need to know how to plan your time starting in school, making sure that you're dedicated.
Can you guys talk about like what life looks like after once you graduate and the different routes and opportunities you can take with that, kind of what for them to not only expect, but I guess the different opportunities and what they have available in those positions, what they can do with it.
Sounds like a unique question.
So, like, once you graduate, we send all of your information down to Salem, and then you'll take your state board test, which is you'll have a law test, and then you'll have a test for each practice. So, if you're doing all three, you're going to have a law test, and then you'll have 3 other tests specifically for hair, nails, and SD. And once you pass that, they give you a paper that says you're amazing, and you can go out into the world and do what you want to. That's the point where you get to decide what kind of business person you want to be. I started the industry at a corporate salon. So I worked hourly, I worked for somebody, which meant I didn't have to do marketing, I didn't have to pay for anything. They paid me to be there, and I got to practice all the skills that I had school for, and I didn't have to be as stressed out. Then I ended up opening my own salon. So those are two pathways. You can open your own space or you can go work for somebody. But then there's also like commission salons where you can work for somebody else based on commission sales or hourly, depending on which one pays you the most, because we're always going to pay you minimum wage wherever that is. That's the one. So you can have an hourly where you work for somebody else. You can have a commission-based salon where you can go work for somebody and then they pay you commission. Or you can open your own space. There's like solo salons now are really popular, the one-room salon spaces. But just understanding what each one of those means for you and really looking into that, because one, you don't really have to pay anything, they do all the work. Another, you have to pay some stuff, but you also have to do your own taxes. And so you have to be aware of what that means. So having a CPA or a tax accountant would be important for that. And you have to also get your secondary licenses, your facility licenses, oh, your practitioner license so that you can work in a facility that's owned by somebody else. That you're not an employee at, and then you have freelance licenses. So there's a lot of licenses to look at.
And then does the state require additional ones for like your business license and?
If you're owning your own business and you have to have a business license and you have to have insurance, so there's a lot of pieces you really want to look into to decide where you want to go right out of school. Because each one is going to have different offerings. Some are going to feel like that's perfect for you. Some are going to feel like there's no way I want to try that first. But after that, there's a lot of pathways. So, like as a makeup artist, you can go, you can do print, you can do film, you can do special effects makeup, you can do bridal makeup, or you can just do like basic makeup for special events that aren't like weddings and things like that. Or you can go into the more clinical side of aesthetics and you can become just a facial technician that just does facial services, or you can go on to our advanced aesthetics, which is a secondary training. And then you can do laser hair removal, tattoo removal, injectables. You can do a lot more stuff with that advanced aesthetics. But as an esthetician, you can also go and do your nursing and become a nurse esthetician, which means that you can do more clinical things, work in a doctor's office for a dermatologist. There, there's a lot of hospitals that are just hiring estheticians and advanced estheticians just to have them on site because so many of those procedures are becoming more and more desirable. So you also have that just as an esthetician. There's so many possibilities there. With your nail technology, I mean, you can just be a basic manicure pedicurist. You can go into a kind of advanced nails where you're doing these $1,000 sets of nails that you're sending out all over the world if that's what you want to do. Amazing artistry out there. Same thing with film, print, television. They have people that are doing those nail sets for a lot of those shows and movies. So you can go that route, or you can even go the route, again, getting your nursing license and become a foot nurse, where you focus solely on like foot care, not as a podiatrist, not as a nail technician, but you're doing a little more than a nail tech would. So you can deal with some foot problems. So like nursing cares in hospitals, skilled nursing environments where people are recovering from surgeries and accidents. And so even with that, there's a wide range of different things you can do depending on your passion and care. I mean, it's kind of almost limitless. If you ever want to see some crazy, ridiculous work, the NAHA Awards is something they do every year. And so they have from like basic hairstyles all the way to avant-garde hairstyles and insane colors. So you can kind of see that vast array of things that you can do just based on that. But again, you can specialize in like hair that's more natural. There's also natural hair care now, so you can do curly hair specialists that do braiding and natural hair care with chemicals. You can specialize in texture where you just want to do curly hair or just straightening curly hair. Extensions is another one. So there's just a vast uh, amount of things that you can choose to go into and specialize into.
With the knowledge that you're learning in school too, you can go on to do more like admin side. So like product sales or brand rep. You could be like a beauty content writer because you're going to be really knowledgeable in products and things like that. You can go on to teach and be a campus manager and but there's
Director of education.
all sorts of different things beyond like working in a chair. So like if you know are in your salon, then you go to own it and manage it. Then you might be doing more of like business management side of the industry. So it's ever evolving. Yeah.
And there are like platform artistry. So I worked for Matrix as an artistic educator, so I would travel and teach in salons. Nail technician, my nail tech that worked in my salon, she did that for C&D, Bioelements, Dermalogica. They have licensed practitioners that go and teach their product lines and their techniques all around the country. You can become an international artist where you're traveling all over the world doing events. Like the NAHA Awards, a lot of those people are representatives for different product lines. And so they're traveling all over all the time, doing photo shoots, doing partnerships with like JCPenney's or any of the hair brands. So you can also do non-behind the chair travel and education. It's not just in a beauty school as well.
So you mentioned that you own a salon. Like, what was the process to own a salon? And like, what is it like for day of
So I owned a couple of salons. I closed my recent salon down, like the one that I worked in, 7 days a week, so that I could come back to teach. But we still have a second salon in the South Waterfront area, and so my business partner runs that one. And I just kind of go in on my days off from teaching to do the clients that I still have. And so the process for opening a salon, you have to get your business license, depending on how and what type of salon you want. So we lease our spaces. The one we have right now is in the bottom retail space of a high-end retirement facility. And so we share the space with like a hearing aid place and there's like a food place. And so we rent from them. So it's slightly different because we didn't have to purchase a building. But we had to get our business license, we had to get our facility license, we had to get insurance. So you have to get all of those pieces before you can even start. And depending on the space, if it's previously set up or furnished as a salon, that saves you a lot of money because you don't have to buy all of that stuff, which we didn't have to do. So our upfront cost was a lot less. And then you start stocking all of your product and your decorations and stuff, which is expensive to buy all of the products that you need depending on what services you're going to offer. And then I worked in mine in the salon that I opened first. I brought two stylists with me from the corporate salon that I worked in. I hired them. We worked together for a year and I said, hey, let's go do this. What do you think? And they said, absolutely, let's do it. And so it was kind of easy for me because I had my staff the day I opened. Our other salon, that meant kind of recruiting, trying to find people to fill our spaces. I didn't have a nail tech, so I had to put word out, and somebody sent her to me the week we opened, so that worked. But so you have to recruit all of your staff. That's why it's really good to make a lot of friends in beauty school because you're going to work with these people at some point, probably. So having those people that you can call and be like, hey, I'm opening my salon. This is my lease, or this is what we're paying. That's the other thing you have to decide is how you're going to compensate the people in your space. So our salon that we have, we started as a commission salon, so it was 50% commission or minimum wage. The average is 40%. So if you're looking at commission, most pay 40%. So you keep 40% of the sales that you pay. But we switched 2 years ago to lease only. So all of our spaces, all of our stations and our aesthetics room, they're all leases. So those people lease from us and they have to have their independent contractor license and they have to have their own insurance and they have to provide their own products. And then once you're done with all that, you have to get somebody to handle your money so that you make sure that you're putting enough money away for your taxes because you have to pay quarterly taxes. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes into owning your own business. So I personally don't recommend doing that straight out of beauty school. Because it is a lot of failures happen with that because you still haven't built your clientele up, you still haven't had all that experience, and you don't have anybody to learn from when you open your own space. When you go to a space where there are other people working, you're learning from them all day long, and they're teaching you and they're helping. No, I think it was a really, really good experience. I kind of got to make my own rules. The idea was to work less and make more money. I just have a problem not working more, still to this day. I tend to work all the time. And so having that work-life balance, if you have that in place, I think it makes business ownership a lot less stressful. That's why we still have our others, because we both love it. And this way we don't have to worry about what people want to tell us or rules or whatever. We can set the rules, and we make it a fun environment to work in.
What services do you offer at your salon?
So we do all hair services. My business partner is certified in Dreamcatcher extensions, so he does the Dreamcatcher extensions. We do waxing. I think we do face waxing. I'm not really sure what our esthetician does because she's in her own room. She is an advanced esthetician, so I know she and I were talking about her getting a laser to start doing laser services again in there. So we do all the hair services, face waxing for sure, all the nail services, manis, pedis. We don't do acrylics anymore. Most salons have shifted away from acrylics because there's polygels and hard gels and all these new options that are a little less fragrant for the rest of the patrons in the salon. And so we've had a massage therapist there. So we did offer massage at one point, and we did have a naturopathic doctor in there that was an esthetician, so she could do more injectable services. So we kind of, if we don't have it all right now, we kind of have had it all at one point. The only thing we haven't had is a tattoo artist, because I guess their rules are a lot more stringent and encompass the entire building.
So before you went to doing leasing and when you were doing the percentage, was it better for you to have people that were licensed in more than one modality? Was it better to have someone that was, as we say, full cause than to have someone who just did hair?
Right now we're all, I mean, I'm not, but the two that are working there all the time are fully licensed, so we don't have to have a secondary nail technician. When we opened, we brought in a nail technician. My nail tech from my salon came and she was working as well. So that she could focus solely on the nail services and the others could focus on the hair services and the nails throughout the rest of the week. So I think it kind of depends on the space. Right now it works out great for them because they can do nails and hair. So they're making more money because if they don't have a hair service booked, they can book a nail service or they can book a waxing service.
So in real life terms, it is better to have multiple licenses as far as booking clients and making them.
For sure, in the beginning, it makes you more desirable and it makes it easier for you to make money. And I think as you work through, then you're going to see what you like more and what you don't like more. And as you build your clientele, then you can stop offering services because you don't need to offer them to fill your books. Now you're doing the services that you want to keep your books full and to keep yourself.
Another thing. So each like class, obviously when you're like doing it, like let's say, because I don't think I do the very best at nails, I'm very bad at between drawing and stuff like that. So like, if I was really bad at like nail art, but like I wanted to get all three of those of everything. Like, do you get like scored on like the nail art, or like do you get great with it?
So nail art is not a requirement. And like we have a new instructor at my campus, and this is one thing she keeps pressing on the students. Like Your bread and butter, the money maker, is going to be your basic nail services. Here's your pedicure, your basic set. Because everyone is not coming in to get $1,200 nails. Like they might be coming in to get long nails with like a jewel on. But most people don't want to pay the amount of money that it's going to cost for you to build a movie scene on their fingers. Because you're going to charge what that takes because your time is valuable. And so the most important thing is, and those are our requirements, are artificial nail sets. So the gels, the hard gels, the acrylics, and manicures and pedicures. If you're great at nail art, which I've seen some amazing nail art students, then that's where you're going to probably live when you graduate. If you're not, as I was not, you're not going to live in it at all. So you don't have to worry about that.
So did you get your license in all three?
I went to school in Idaho, and it's an umbrella license state, so we were fully licensed in cosmetology there. And so when I came to Oregon, I had to break my license up into all three licenses. And just because we had just moved, I decided not to get my FSD licenses, and I do regret it now, many years later, because it's a full process for me to change my mind, and it's expensive. So your practitioner licenses are every 2 weeks. But like your independent contractor license, your freelance license, your facility license, each one of those is a different amount of time. So it kind of depends on which licenses you're going to hold, but like your hair, your nail, and ST, it's every 2 weeks. Nope, you just have to, well, if you're better planned than I usually am, they'll send you a thing that says you need to renew your license, and then you just log in and put your code in and pay your fee, and that's it. If you don't on time, then you have to go down to state law and pay your fee down there and a late fee.
My question was really similar actually because from what I knew, my mom and my stepdad would tell me that every 2 years they have to take a small test and pay because my stepdad has a contractor and business license and my mom's real estate. So
So in
that's what they-
cosmetology, you don't have to retake tests or, as of right now, prove like continuing education here in Oregon. I'm not 100% certain on the advanced aesthetics. I think there you may have to take like a continuing education kind of test just to make sure, but I'm not certain. But for the regular basic licenses, you don't have to take any new tests unless you let your license lapse for a certain amount of time. If you wait too long, then you'll have to retest. But
and,
go ahead.
and so I don't plan on like leaving. Well, but with having like to renew that, and so since it's on the computer, does that like change or anything if you were to move, or do you just get like the same email sent to you, or like if I got the email sent to me that I had to renew my license, and then I moved somewhere.
So right now it's paper mail, so they send you something in the mail. So as long as your address is updated, you should be fine. They should send it to you because you can have licenses in many states. Because if you ever go back, some states require you to have the license there to teach, some don't. So like I should have kept my Idaho license, but I was young and struggling. So I didn't want to pay whatever I had to pay to keep it there. But a lot of people advise you to keep your licenses in whichever states that you're licensed, just because when you go to move back 5 years from then, it makes it really easy to already have.
Or if you're going to travel to do the bridal makeup, you would want to be licensed wherever you're traveling. Is my understanding, and I could be wrong, you would know better than me. You can't have an Oregon license and go apply makeup in.
So each state has different rules on what is covered. So some states, like you can apply makeup and not have a license. Some states you can curl hair and you don't have to have a hairdressing license, but there's really strict parameters on what you can and can't do. And so each state's going to be different. So if you are planning on traveling, you would want to check that state's laws and their rules around practice.
I guess I was just piggybacking off what you said with Idaho, thinking if you've got licenses in those states, you should keep them up.
Yeah.
Because you never know if you're going to go back to do your cousin's wedding in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Keeping the random.
And how much is the fee to take your license? I don't do it there.
I think maybe. You would think I would pay attention to what I pay for my licenses. I think maybe it's $100 every 2 years per license. But maybe it's not even, I feel like that's high. So maybe it's $50. I'm gonna say 75.
And then it's gonna change depending on the state of Oregon and what they decide that.
Yeah, and so it can change, but also your facility license is gonna be different. I think the freelance license is less expensive. I should probably be aware of how much it costs me every time I pay for it, but I'm not. Go ahead.
I was wondering, for the individual courses, are you able to stack those or do you have to like take a combination? Class, like if you're interested in hair design and nail design, can you take those if you have to do the hair, nail, and aesthetics?
It's the same courses. So if you do like a hair, nail, and SD, you're getting the same education as if you did a hair and then came back to the SD and then came back to the nail. It's just when you combine them all, the cost goes down considerably. I think it sounded like almost a $5,000 deduction for combining hair and SD. Just because processing, the time you're spending, some of the requirements are lessened because they transfer like the law requirements and your sanitation requirements and your career development, like those cover for all three. And so it's the same exact thing. It's just kind of like if you were to get a hamburger and a French fry and a drink, it's just a combination. So you're getting the same thing. It's just coffee.
And there's not one for hair and nails. Yeah.
Currently, we don't have a hair and nail program. So that would be the one where if you wanted to just do those two things, you would have to do two separate enrollments.
And you can't use FAFSA for nails by itself. So if you think you want to do hair and nails, the best option for you is the full hair, nails, and aesthetics. That way you can use your FAFSA financial aid.
Yeah.
So let's say like you finish school and then it's not transfer for the school. Would you have to
So that's that reciprocity thing. And so each state's going to be different. Each one's going to have different rules on how reciprocity works for them. From what I've seen, all states will take hours. They just decide what your hours will cover of their requirements.
Okay.
So as long as you graduate, like HLO, which is our licensing body, they will have your transcripts and everything there as well. And so if you were to move immediately afterwards to Washington or Idaho or somewhere, what their licensing board may require is that you send the transcripts to them so they can evaluate them and decide if you have to do extra hours of training in any of the practices.
Okay, also, not bring on the downfall, but what happened if someone were to like fail the
In Salem,
yes,
you retake it.
you just want to take it?
So they just changed the laws on July 1st, so you can now take it every day until you pass up to 10 times. And so if you don't pass the first time, you just go back the next day and take it again. Then you go back, you do have to pay for each one of those. But they've made it a lot easier because it used to be 7 full days plus before you retake the test. So now, I mean, our licensure rate is 98%, right? We do a lot of testing in our campuses. We have a lot of tests. I think there's 31 tests that you have to do as a full courser because we want to make sure that you know what you need to know so that you just go down and take the damn test and go down.
We had some recent graduates who took their licensing exam and they said that our computer tests on campus were harder. So they were like down there to take their licensing, breeze through it. They're like the ones on campus that you guys prepared, like over prepared them. So that's the goal is by the time you graduate, you've passed all of your on-campus practice tests. Ideally, you can pass your license the first or second time.
And then one thing I'm not sure that we covered, when you go to Salem, you're just taking a computer test. As far as your hands-on, you're going to do that at campus with your campus manager that you're already comfortable with. Not have to go to Salem and show your skills in front of strangers. So no anxiety with that part.
Yeah, Oregon is one of the states that still does in-house hands-on practical examinations for their seniors. So you'll just do it every month. We have our senior practicals, and whoever's going to graduate soon goes into that group, do your practical, give your score, and then that goes in your file. Once you're done, we send that to HLO and then it's going to take it.
What if you like, again, I'm on what if you fail a practical, like, is it, okay, is it just like, are they just like, do they happen a lot, or do you have to like, let's say like you build the no practical, do you have to like wait another month?
Every month. So we do it once a month. We have to have those dates registered with HLO, the dates that because they are a state test, we're just doing it for the state. We have those dates are planned out. I just did them for 25. And so we have you practical enough that you can do one reading. But I have not had, I've only had one student fail one piece of a practical in the 3 campuses that I've managed. It is pretty rare. We also do practical preparation. The month before, we sit you down. We talk about all the things that you're going to need to do and what to expect and what to have. So you're going to be prepared for it. And that's what we're teaching you on the floor, those services that you're doing. If you don't have a client, you're working on your dolls or the fingers, practicing the practical requirements so that, like the state board test, you just breeze through it.
And like you just mentioned, I'm sure you've seen the mannequin heads for hairdressers. There are little hands for the nail part. So you have something to practice on if you don't have a person. So we will make sure that you are well prepared, I promise.
You have a question? Yeah. So, I was thinking of like how much this is. So I was thinking of moving to Mexico and studying this course, like cosmetology part. You guys are the process of like if I come back and like I don't need like income for like certain hours. And then what if I need to complete? What if I like what if I'm like missing hours? Do I go to school? Do I have to pay?
So yes, what you would do if you went and you got a degree from somewhere else, yes, you come either you have to fill out forms with the health licensing.
So that
So the process just changed
just
for
right.
hours.
So you would
It's just-
essentially reach out to the school now. And then we would assess your transcripts from wherever you were at, and we would look and see what you did there and what our requirements are in Oregon and at our school. And then we would kind of go through and see if just right off of that, we know that you're not the requirements and you have to come back. And then we would do what's called a skill assessment, which is kind of like a mini practical where you would run through the different requirements that we have so we could see if you're competent in those to make sure that you're not missing anything. And if you do well on that and you don't have to redo that, then we would say, yes, this person seems like they have everything you need and everything is in order. They're allowed to take the practical, their graduation practical. And then you would come back and you would do your senior practical or an outside practical with us. And so then we can send that just like we would if you graduated from us. And then you would go to the state, written test, and do all of that way. If for some reason we found it through the assessment that there were some pieces, maybe you missed, like a lot of schools don't do leg waxing and arm waxing or nose waxing, bikini waxing, underarms. We would want to make sure that you have that knowledge. So we would say, okay, we've assessed them and we know that they need to do 15 body waxes. So we're going to recommend that you come back for 150 hours so that you can do those 15 body waxes and the theory and testing for those waxes. And then we would have you enroll just for that amount of hours.
Mhm.
No, not the whole of it. You would just come back for those scheduled hours based off the assessment.
One thing to keep in mind with that, because I am in the middle of one, this is a fairly lengthy process. So if you come, don't think that, wow, I can just immediately get my license in a couple of weeks. It usually takes a few months from start to finish between getting that foreign diploma evaluated. You're probably looking at about 2 to 3 months. Any other questions?
We have
Oh, yeah,
one
no,
more.
You guys provide space when you start with that, or the location.
Yeah, so on the sheet that you have, the totals next to the program includes your books and kit. At the bottom of the page, it breaks them down individually, but those costs are already in the total next to the program. And then you'll get your complete kit, all of your textbooks, workbooks. We use the Milady textbooks, which are the same ones the licensing test is designed around. And then you'll also be able to use products and supplies from our dispense, which is like the hub of your salon spa, where like all of your sanitation and laundry and learning to portion out your products and things like that happen. Yeah. And then you also get access to like Cosmoprof, get discounts with your student ID badge. That's kind of fun too.
What is the importance of having licenses for somebody that is just, because I know there's a lot of people nowadays that will just do nails because they're self-taught. They didn't go to school. They do eyelash extensions. They're self-taught. What is the risks associated with that, and like why are licenses like important when practicing?
It's illegal.
It is.
Yes.
So like I tell people, like, if you are practicing in your house and you don't have a license, um, if somebody got mad at you, they could report you, and then you get a fine. They're hefty fines. The other thing is once that happens, you can have your license revoked permanently to where you can't get a license in that. And if you decide you want to actually go work somewhere, you can't because you don't have a license, right? It's nice to do a couple of friends out of your house, I guess. But all of a sudden, when you have 50 people traipsing in and out of your house, that's not so fun anymore. And so then you want to go work somewhere or you want to go work with someone. You can't do that because you don't have a license. And then you've got that fine and then you've got that issues on your license that you can't get a license and you can't. And so it's just, and also you're not learning for your clients and for yourself. You're not learning the safety and sanitation aspects. So you're not really preparing yourself in case of an emergency, if something were to happen, or to protect yourself from a number of things, but bloodborne pathogens and chemical reactions. When you have your license, you've gone through all of that training, and so your clients know that you have that, and so make it feel a little bit safer. Yeah.
I was gonna say, as a consumer, I would be very concerned to find out someone lied about having a license and things like that because of sanitation, safety, and going by the book.
Also, as a licensed practitioner, you have access to professional products.
Yeah.
As a not licensed practitioner, you're buying your stuff off Amazon, or wherever you buy it, Sally maybe. And while Sally is good quality stuff, it is not the same as a professional product lines that you're going to be able to purchase with a license or with a student.
And hefty fines, aren't these like tens of thousands of dollars? This isn't,
They can get up there really high. I mean, first offense is not going to be massive amount like that, but second and third offense, and then the opportunity to get a license.
I just don't want people to think hefty like parking ticket. No, this is a pretty serious.
It could be bad.
Like on the flip side of doing something else, if you do have a license and you decide that a lot of working in salon you want to do like in the house, doesn't work for people that you know for something, is that allowed? Like if you have your license, then
So each state has different requirements for what they allow. Most states though require that you're working in a licensed facility. or that you have a freelance license to work at a facility. So like you can go do services at a wedding venue with a freelance license, but you wouldn't be doing like an all over color and like a laser hair removal probably outside of a licensed facility.
Or like cutting someone's hair and dyeing someone's hair in a spread price if you have to do it.
Yeah, most states are going to require that you have a space designed and designated as a facility. And so that's where a lot of people turn their garage or like an EDU into a small salon spaces license with the state that they've come out and looked at and said, oh, you have water and electricity, that's perfect. That's what you should have.
What if someone wants to do injectables like fillers and Botox? Is cosmetology school like necessary? Because I know like nursing in the state of Oregon with it, but like other states might not have the same requirements in terms of for someone who wants to.
Yeah, so different states are going to be different. When I was licensed in cosmetology in Idaho, I could with my athletics. With my license, I'm not sure if they've changed that yet. As an advanced esthetician who can do some of those services like Botox and stuff. And so it kind of depends on what you want to do and where you want to be. It also limits what you can do because if you're a nurse, you can't really be doing facials and chemical peels and stuff. You can do the injectable, but you can't do the rest of it. Whereas like you're an esthetician, you can do the chemical peels, but you can't do the injectables. And that's why doing the advanced estheticians, even if you just want to do the injectables, to have that so that you can do that is a good path. So you can do your facials, chemical peels, all of that fancy stuff, and then do just the injectables or like small laser treatments or even microblading or dermaplaning.
So it's not like all covered in advanced esthetician.
And we do have that course available at Tualatin and Medford. And Medford, if you move south for some reason.
Yeah. And they're always changing. They just changed some of the scope of practice for aesthetics. July, well, maybe in 2020. So that's one thing that you're always going to want to kind of keep an eye on because aesthetics, they might take something away from what you can do, or they might add some things with hair design. They took away face shaving at one point, and then they brought it back again in 2019. So that's where the only difference between barbering and hair design aesthetics is the barbers get your chemical services. But when you have hair design, you can do the face shave. When you have aesthetics, you can do the tonics and the facials. And so that's what makes hair aesthetics similar to barbering.
What are some recent trends that you've seen in the school kind of adapt so that like they can know like kind of what to expect, at least for this year? Because obviously it's constantly evolving and that you need to keep up with trends.
Permed mullets. Permed for the barbers. You know, they obviously can't perm, so someone will go over to the hair design side, get a perm, and then they go over to the barbers to get the mullet fades. Yeah, perms are coming back.
Yeah, the perms, the mullet perm, the burst fade, curl thing. Those are some really hot trends this last year and a half. I started seeing some of the younger people, 14, 15, 16, 17 coming in to get the perms and then the sides, and then a lot of the barbers, when I was at Beaverton, were doing the burst fade thing. Like it's very was and now it's not anymore. The butterfly haircut and the wolf cut. Those were very popular requests. And then money pieces last year, super, super popular. So we were doing a lot of money piece placement for color classes.
Eyebrows. Our instructor at Beaverton, who teaches both hair and aesthetics, says that she regrets for the longest time not doing full cause and not having hair, nails, and aesthetics because she had to go back to school and take the aesthetics portion when eyebrows blew up. Because when she started, eyebrows were not a thing. Now everybody wants their eyebrows shaped, designed, laminated. Yes. So brows is becoming bigger and bigger all of the time. Same with the eyelash extensions. These are not things that we saw happening a few years ago.
What about like along with the eyebrow lamination, also like lip blushing, or they like, what would that be after? If you were they do,
That's-
just like a tattoo gun.
Yeah, that's a
Color.
tattoo artist.
Cosmetic
It would-
makeup.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So yes, yeah,
Oh,
there's
interesting.
a specific type of tattoo schooling that is cosmetic, and they do things like the lips, the eyelids, things like that. So it doesn't fall under cosmetology school.
Yeah, brow tinting and eyelash
Tinting.
tinting, those
Does.
ones fall under SDMA.
Right.
But permanent makeup would be a permanent makeup license under the tattoo board.
Any other questions?
I know we heard a little bit about your origins into the beauty world. I would like to kind of be curious about what kind of you guys into or into this industry.
That is a great question. Well, I didn't do cosmetology. I'm more in like the education realm, so that's where I'm doing your paperwork and getting you signed up for classes. But I did do a creative field, so I went to school for fine art. And it's funny that I guess a lot of the business side of like fine art and cosmetology are similar as far as like, marketing yourself and independent, uh, contract taxes and things like that. But yeah, somehow I found myself here. So
So you can't tell when I'm sitting down, but I have cerebral palsy. So I can't actually get licensed because nobody wants me coming at their eyes with hot wax or handling shears. I've always been involved in the beauty industry in some way or another. I have family members who've gone through beauty school where I have been the model more than once. I don't have pain receptors, so I'm a great wax model, because go for it. My background as far as careers go is mainly in different type of sales. I've had my real estate license, I've had my tax preparer license. I have worked for a cosmetics line where I was number 6 in the national ranking for sales. So sales and people's kind of where my specialty is. I'm extroverted if you can't tell. I like to talk to people. So this is a great sort of marrying of my skill sets of being able to help students get started. I come from a tiny logging town 3 hours south where everybody went to trade schools. It wasn't like you only went to college if you were going to be a teacher. Otherwise, everyone became a mechanic or a hairdresser or, in my case, I did real estate for a long time. I own the property management part of the business, but I'm finding that this is a much better fit for me because I get to be involved in helping you guys start your education and your careers. And for me, that is so much more rewarding than signing papers on a house.
yeah.
So, you have your real estate license?
I did.
I want to do that as well. I want to talk with real estate. Do you suggest that I choose real estate first because or am I able to balance my real estate? Because I know that you can take courses online and it's different. Or would you not be able to balance my time studying in cosmetology and real estate, or should I take them?
I think that you should focus on the cosmetology, and here's why. People always want haircuts. People are always going to, need something. Beauty has become self-care, especially for women. The real estate market has a really high ebb and flow where the market can go really up and really down. Sold a house once, my highest paycheck, didn't sell another house for 6 months. So focusing on cosmetology in the long run is going to be a much better financial decision because you are always going to have work. It's not the same with real estate, especially if you live in an area like Oregon where it's seasonal and it's driven by economies in other states. So you can get a real estate license and have it in your back pocket, just hang your license somewhere and help friends and family. But I would definitely focus on the cosmetology. Because let's be honest, if real estate was that successful, I would still be doing it.
Another thing about kind of in that line is you can go to cosmetology school and you could even do 4-year business school or something at the same time if you had that much energy. But going to cosmetology school, it's a short program. So like if you were to get your aesthetics license, then you can start practicing aesthetics and taking classes for a business degree or for a 4-year degree while you're working because your cosmetology work is going to be a little more flexible. And so that's one other thing. It's not necessarily getting two different kinds of job licenses, but it is kind of getting two different colleges in a way. And so that is one thing to think about. If you're trying to decide, do I want to go to business school or do I want to cosmetology? You can do both. You can do them at the same time. It's a beast. I was taking full schedule and working here full time, which was the same as going to school, and it was rough. But I went back to school right as soon as I graduated from cosmetology school. I was working, and then I went back for my instructor training. So I was back in school full time, and it was totally doable.
What do you wish you knew when you first contemplated this career, or like going into cosmetology?
That's a you question.
I mean, I didn't really think about it. I just mentioned it to my grandmother, and then she set appointments to go to beauty school when I moved. I think the most important thing I think I missed out on was portfolio building. To this day, I've never taken a before and after picture of the same person because it was not something that they trained in my school back then because we didn't have such readily available photography devices as our cell phones these days. And so I never learned that habit. And so even today, I'm like, oh, let's get a before and then I forget an after picture. Or I totally forget the before and then I finally take an after picture and it's terrible because the sun's gone down. And so that's one thing that I feel like I have no portfolio. And so if I were to go somewhere and be like, oh, I do amazing work, you should hire me, they're going to be like, I've seen your Facebook. Like that's not a portfolio. So I think that's one really important thing to do now. I also think that like money management and the business side was another thing that I wish I would have known more about when I opened my salon, my first one.
How do you manage burnout? Because I know that a lot of students kind of said that it was almost too much work for them, and that's why they kind of dropped out, or they, were expecting something else. So how do you deal with like having a bunch of clients, or constantly being under constantly interacting with the public?
So I think the school piece, I think that multiple tours thing helps with the expectation of what you're doing. Knowing what, I mean, you're going to see it when you go on a tour, you're going to see what's happening. So you kind of do know what to expect. I think also having a good school that helps you set a good pace. And so like we do our progress reports every month. We sit down with the students and we go over this is what you still need to do. You need to do this many tasks 1 a week. That'll keep you on track. And so I think that helps. I think once you're in the industry, like I said before, just refueling your fire. Because every 3 to 5 years, I think in any job that you're in, you kind of start to burn out or feel like it's becoming a little monotonous. And so going to those trainings, I just went to one in Burbank for a color line, and it just was a refueling event. Like my passion was reignited. Every time I go to like the Vegas hair show, every time I even just look at the NAHA Awards website, like when I see awesome work, that inspires me to want to do awesome work again. Same thing with the education piece. When I see really amazing education, it makes me want to take that and it reignites that fire. So I think that's the easiest way. And just remembering to focus on the stuff that you love to do, because you can get stuck in that rut of, I only do haircuts, I'm not doing chemical services, or I only do manicures and pedicures, but I really want to do nail art. So making sure that you are doing the stuff that you want to do, not just the stuff that's always on your book. Schedule yourself time for yourself to do your passion.
We had a previous instructor who went through and did hair aesthetics combo in school. And when she graduated, she was telling me she did like only hair, just that was all she was booking. 5 years of doing hair and kept her aesthetics license up. She got kind of burnt out in hair and just went full aesthetics. So having that combo license, I mean, she used her aesthetics one for a few years and then that's all she did. Got reignited, went back and did advanced aesthetics, and now she is like full med spa. So in that kind of realm, that's what I can say. When I get burnt out, I book a facial. So
Do you have any advice to keep like a healthy work home life balance, especially while in like a cosmetology related career? When like doing makeup and hair and nails can be common for someone who has a job and in their own personal life. Like ways to keep them separated.
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I work 5 days a week at the school and then go work 2 days a week in the salon. But what I have seen is those who are successful at work-life balance set their schedule, and that's their hard schedule. So if you're open from 9 to 5 in the salon, you're done at 5. I have a problem with like, oh, okay, come at 5:30, which means I work till 9. So making sure that you just have that set schedule and you make those boundaries. Life in general is about setting boundaries and holding boundaries true. That's going to help you. And it's not going to feel when you're at home and you're like playing this new nail thing that you saw on the Instagram. It's not going to feel like work. It's going to feel like play, right? And just making sure that you're doing those and scheduling those times to play because I'm too busy now and I'm always like, oh, I really want to like just work on this project that I've come up with in my head, but I don't have time for it. That's one thing I would say as a regret is not being better about scheduling my time away from work, which you would think would be a me problem.
Why Northwest compared to like other cosmetology schools out there?
that's it. Well, while you're searching for school, one of the big things you'll notice is clock hour versus competency based. So we're a clock hour school, meaning you'll fulfill your state requirements for hours and operations. We're able to accept things like federal student aid. Not many competency-based schools can accept federal student aid. It kind of depends. And then sometimes they're not through the like same accrediting offices. So when you're shopping around, making sure that your school is also being inspected and following rules is going to be important.
I will say that like some of the campuses that I've seen are huge campuses. So they have hundreds of students there, and when you have so many students, it's a little harder to get that one-on-one time. Right now, we run under the mandatory ratio. So it's one instructor to 15 students, right? That means if you have 15 kids in your class, 15 students in your class, which means once you're on the floor, there could be 30 people to 2 instructors. And so that makes it really hard to get that one-on-one time. And we run, I would say like 1 to 10 right now. I think I have.
Like, for example, our
Yeah.
101 class that just started, I think there's 5 or 6 students. So you get really good like one-on-one time. I'd say our campus has a really tight community. I mean, we like to do a lot of fun stuff. We just had pumpkin decorating, and so it was like, some, I don't know, welcoming environment, I guess.
Well, and I'm at a different campus, and right now I'm in an unusual position where I'm actually covering 2 campuses doing admissions. The one thing I have noticed is our staff, our instructors, because I've toured a couple of the other schools, our instructors, a lot of them are very passionate about teaching. One of our barber's instructors, he just moved from the Bay Area to here to teach. We have instructors that have worked all over the world and they are passionate about teaching and they help students regardless of which program they're in. So let's say you did the hair and aesthetics because you really wanted to be able to dye hair. Our barbering instructors are more than happy to teach any of the students who come over and say, hey, I really like to learn how to do a fade better. They'll make sure that they get that instruction and vice versa. I've seen barbering students go to a hair student and say, hey, I tried to do my own hair and look, I messed it up. Can you tell me what I should have done? So our teachers are really invested in helping you, regardless of which program you're in, regardless of where you're coming from. And that's not something you see at every campus. A lot of campuses, they're like, hey, I'm only helping my students, I'm only doing nails, or they won't interact when you're on a tour. Our instructors will answer questions when you're on your tour. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. We'll make sure to introduce you to the instructors as we go along. So that's something that I've noticed that for me would be a big impact on my decision.
So, for like aesthetics, hair removal, do you have to get your hair removed as a student, or do you have to get it removed?
So we would never require you to get a service that you're not comfortable with. I do think it's important to have the services that you're proposing done on you. After like 18 years, I had never gotten a perm. I've given a lot of perms, so I try it. We do all body hair removal except Brazilians on campus. And so we will teach you, we do bikinis, we do all of the body except the bikini or the Brazilian. And so in that class, we do try and get you to work on each other so that you can get the hands-on experience. And you can also see what the experience is like. Yeah, we don't do that in-house. We do teach it a little bit. It's part of our advanced aesthetics training. So we also aren't going to make you do a Brazilian wax or even like experience the Brazilian wax. And if you don't want to do that.
I will say, so I popped into the class, like the aesthetics class while they were doing waxing, and they had done like practicing eyebrow waxing, but on their arms. So they drew on eyebrows so that they could practice, because, once your eyebrow is waxed, you can't put it back. So they were practicing other ways to like get good at it, So, yeah.
I know you guys mentioned was it student council that you guys had there?
Yeah.
How would you get involved in that? Or like what kind of, I know you were talking also about like what kind of events you have there. Like is there any upcoming events that might be interesting?
Yeah.
What's your biggest event?
So at Clackamas campus, where I'm the admissions rep, I also am the like staff liaison for student council. And so the student council members, they are students who have good attendance. They, I guess attendance really is the main thing. And then their satisfactory academic progress report. So they're like in the passing realm. So like 75% or higher. And right now they are planning we just finished Spirit Week. That was the week of Halloween, which is always a fun opportunity for you to like, come to school with your hair styled, because you don't get to do that much like on campus, like do a service on yourself. So it was a fun, like where people really did fun makeup looks and all that. And then we also are planning monthly showcases, where students can do a themed styling, like on a mannequin head or a nail look, makeup look, and just to like showcase their work. So we'll set up like a little mock gallery of their work. That's, I guess, where my fine art background comes in. I'll just, set up the gallery for them. But yeah, they are just kind of planning those fun things. And then we're always celebrating a graduation because with rolling admissions, everyone's graduating at different times. So that's always a fun, like, reminder while you're in school, kind of also, talking about burnout when you see your classmates like finishing up, you're like, okay, I can get there. And then I guess the next big event would be, I think it's our, oh, a secret? Yeah. Oh, okay, fun.
But we did just finish up our
Yeah.
campus-wide among all of our campuses, a little competition. Voting started today.
Oh, yeah. So if you go on our like college, the Instagram account, we just posted our campuses. It was their kind of Halloween themed, where they got in teams. One student was the model, so they did the hair, nails, makeup look. We had a little slideshow on there from like the student life. But you can go on and vote. We have them numbered, which would be awesome. I
What's your
won't
handle?
promote my campus, but
What's the handle for the student?
NW College, Northwest College. I think it's just NW College.
It's on that last slide, bro.
Like, share the thing.
So that's one big event we just did company-wide. So we have all of those 5 campuses. And so we included all of them, but each campus is going to have its own campus life, its own campus culture. And so like our spirit weeks, every campus is different. And then the showcase thing, we're just going to pick different themes and have them like Thanksgiving theme, maybe it's food theme for Thanksgiving, like winter themed. This
was the student
last
appreciation.
event, that is all stuff from the competition that the different students did. And each campus kind of picked their own theme, and then each group lived in that theme, and then they picked the winner for each campus. And so it just was posted yesterday. And I think it's NW College. I can't figure out Instagram very well. So if you go on there, you can follow us. We post stuff on there, previous student works. I try and put some videos together of different things, campus life, campus days, whatever events they're doing throughout all of our different campuses and whatever fun things going on.
Are there any last questions? Okay, I'm gonna share my screen one last time. I guess any final words of advice?
Go to Northwest College. Have any of you guys toured any of the